morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to Global Atheist News, our weekly report on how religion has impacted humanity over the last 7 days. This week's headlines. Russians shelled the largest wooden church in Ukraine. The Ukrainian Orthodox Church breaks ties with Russia. A church leader pleads guilty to sexually abusing children in Mexico. In Nigeria, gunmen killed dozens in a satanic attack on a Catholic church. A 13-year-old girl is beaten to death in a botched exorcism in KwaZulu-Natal. A mob sets a mosque on fire in Madhya, Pradesh, India. Meredith Doig says the Australian Defence Forces personnel need secular support. The Second Amendment protects our God-given right to keep and bear arms, Republican Representative Jeff Duncan of South Carolina says. Christian hate preacher Dillon Awes said, "The government should execute every gay person." And Ireland has a shortage of exorcists. Russian invaders have again shelled the Sviatohorsk Lavra monastery in the north of the Donetsk region, where hundreds of civilians sought refuge. According to Minister Tkachenko, in addition to monks and nuns, 300 civilians took shelter in the monastery. He said that the refugees include invalids, the elderly, and some 60 children, among them babies. Following the shelling of the monastery, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called for Russia to be expelled from UNESCO. Every Orthodox church burned by Russia in Ukraine, every blown-up school, and every destroyed monument prove that there is no room for Russia in UNESCO, wrote the Ukrainian leader on Telegram. See this video. A branch of Ukraine's Orthodox Church that had remained loyal to Moscow after a 2019 schism has said it will break with the Russian Church over the country's invasion of Ukraine. Ukraine had been given permission by the spiritual leader of Orthodox Christians worldwide to form a church independent of Moscow in 2019, largely ending centuries of religious ties between the two countries. However, many parishes, especially in Ukraine's east, elected to remain loyal under the umbrella of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church Moscow Patriarchate. But following a meeting of its leadership, the church announced that it would now declare its full independence from Russia. The statement condemned Russia's February the 24th invasion of Ukraine and the support of Patriarch Kirill, the head of Russia's church, for what Moscow calls its special military operation to combat anti-Russian nationalists. Ukraine says the full-scale invasion was entirely unprovoked. Ahead of Friday's decision, more than 400 parishes had left the Ukrainian Orthodox Church Moscow Patriarchate in the aftermath of the invasion. The head of a Mexico-based evangelical megachurch that claims about 5 million followers worldwide pleaded guilty to felony accounts of sexually abusing 3 children California state prosecutors announced on Friday. The guilty plea was entered in court by Nason Joaquin Garcia, leader and self-styled apostle of the Guadalajara-based church La Luz del Mundo, Light of the World, 3 days before he was scheduled to go on trial. Sentencing for Garcia, 53, was scheduled for next Wednesday. He faces up to 16 years and 8 months in prison, prosecutors said. His conviction ends an investigation that began in 2018, leading to Garcia's arrest the following year at Los Angeles International Airport with a co-defendant, Susana Medina Oaxaca, who also pleaded guilty on Friday to a charge of assault likely to cause great bodily harm. Garcia pleaded guilty to 2 counts of forcible oral copulation involving minors and 1 count of a lewd act upon a child. The charges stem from abuse of 3 underage victims, prosecutors said. Garcia and co-defendants Oaxaca and Ocampo had faced 36 felony offences in all, including charges of rape, human trafficking, and child pornography. The majority of those counts were dropped in return for the defendants' guilty pleas. La Luz del Mundo is the largest evangelical church in Mexico, dating back to the 1920s, with branches in 50 countries and boasting 5 million members. Gunmen launched an assault on a Catholic church in Ondo State in Nigeria during Mass on Sunday, killing more than 50 people in a satanic attack, local officials and volunteers said. The attackers targeted the St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church in the town of Owo as the worshippers gathered on Pentecost Sunday, according to local officials. They gunned down parishioners and detonated an explosive device, local media reported. Doctors, local officials, and volunteers helping the injured said the death toll was at least 50, with dozens being treated for injuries in overwhelmed local hospitals. The state legislator said children were among the dead. Videos appearing to be from the scene of the attack showed church worshippers lying in pools of blood while people around them wailed. The governor of Ondo State condemned the vile and satanic attack and pledged to find the assailants. Reverend Augustine Ikwu, the secretary of the Catholic Church in Ondo, said, "We turn to God to console the families of those whose lives were lost." See this video.
It's quite unbelievable that somebody will come and the intention was to kill everybody in that church. And those running out, they were being shot from outside. Those who were inside were being shot from inside. They threw 2 dynamites to blow up the altar down to the sanctuary. This kind of desecration can only be done by the evil one.
A 13-year-old girl from KwaZulu-Natal in KwaZulu-Natal was beaten to death, allegedly by church members who were trying to rid her of demons. 5 children were held hostage from the 25th of May until the 29th and allegedly beaten up by a local pastor, saying to exorcise them of demons. a 13-year-old girl died as a result of the brutal assault, while 4 other children were freed. It is alleged that those involved in the assaults and torturing of children attempted to conceal the death. It is also alleged that church elders tampered with the crime scene, including moving the surviving children to other rooms, from where they were eventually released to their respective parents. Social workers were only informed about the incident on June the 2nd, when they visited Becky High School for a child protection awareness program. A curfew has been imposed on the Madhya Pradesh Neemuch city after a mob set fire to a religious place. See this video.
Mob sets mosque on fire in Madhya Pradesh, India. On May 16th, a violent mob set ablaze a mosque in Madhya Pradesh, India. The mosque was located in a predominantly Muslim neighborhood. Rioters threw stones at Muslim homes and assaulted Muslim citizens. The riots reportedly started after a Hanuman, who is a Hindu monkey god idol, was installed in the area next to a Muslim holy site. Suraj Kumar Verma, superintendent of police, stated, "We are looking at the CCTV footage to identify the miscreants who desecrated the mosque. A total of 4 FIRs, or police reports, were registered after the attack."
Rationalists in Australia are still campaigning to get secular chaplaincy for their military. See this video.
It's incredible to think that our Defence Force needs urgent secular reform. It's incredible to think that in the Navy, Army and Air Force, 60% of all personnel and 80% of new recruits say that they're not religious. And yet the frontline mental health and wellbeing support capability provided by the Defence Force is religious chaplaincy.
Well, being a chaplain's really a privilege for me because I know it's a call to serve God by serving our soldiers. You know, it's an unconditional commitment in both ways, to Him and to them. And it's about being positioned beside them no matter what the circumstance. It's a relationship we build so that whatever the situation or environment, we remind them that there's a God and that they're never alone.
Now we know this religious-based model of wellbeing support is no longer fit for purpose. In 2020, the Defence Force Remuneration Tribunal heard evidence from senior Navy personnel, and that includes the head of Navy chaplaincy, that the religious-based chaplaincy model puts up barriers. Frankly, many of them don't feel comfortable sharing their problems with a religious chaplain. Surely our Defence Force men and women deserve more professional and appropriate support for their mental health and well-being, and there should be no barriers to them getting the type of support they would prefer. This is what we've told the Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicide. We think these reforms are needed urgently. The question is, will the Albanese government and members of the new parliament act?
America has lost more children from gun violence than any other cause. Does that embarrass you? House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said during a debate on the bill. To think that in our country, more children have died from gun violence than any other cause? These stories are tragically all too common in America today. The Uvalde attack and other recent mass killings have sparked a new round of bipartisan talks on gun control in the US Senate, but Democrats need at least 10 Republicans on board to pass any new laws. But House Republicans claimed the bill was an attack on citizens' constitutional rights to own a firearm. The Speaker started by saying this bill is about protecting our kids, Ohio Republican Jim Jordan said. But this bill doesn't do it. What this bill does is take away Second Amendment rights, God-given rights, protected by our Constitution from law-abiding American citizens. US Congressman Jeff Duncan, South Carolina, says, "The Second Amendment protects our God-given right to keep and bear arms, and these rights shall not be infringed upon like many states have attempted to do. I support concealed carry reciprocity because I believe law-abiding citizens should be able to exercise their rights across the country. And if every state has different laws on concealed carry, that infringes upon our basic Second Amendment rights." I warn you, this video is harrowing. Christian hate preacher Dillon Awes said the government should execute every gay person. See this video.
There's a door between our classrooms, and he went through there and shot my teacher and told my teacher goodnight and shot her in the head. And then he shot some of my classmates and the whiteboard. When I went to the backpacks, he shot my friend that was next to me, and I thought he was going to come back to the room, so I grabbed the blood and I put it all over me. And
what did you do then when you put the blood on yourself?
Just stay quiet, and then I got my teacher's phone and called 911.
What did you tell 911?
I told her that we need help and to send the police in our classroom.
She's not the same little girl that I used to play with, hang around with, and do everything, because she was daddy's little girl. I don't know what to do, because I think I would have lost my big girl.
Do you feel safe at school? Why not?
Because I don't want it to happen again.
And you think it's going to happen again?
I'm sorry to have to report that the American Christian hate preachers have been at it again. Just see this one.
What does God say is the answer, is the solution for the homosexual in 2022, here in the New Testament, here in the book of Romans, that they are worthy of death? These people should be put to death. Every single homosexual in our country should be charged with the crime, the abomination of homosexuality that they have. They should be convicted in a lawful trial. They should be sentenced with death. They should be lined up against the wall and shot in the back of the head. That's what God teaches. That's what the Bible says. You don't like it, you don't like God's word, because that is what God says.
And Ireland urgently needs trained teams of people to lead deliverance ministry for people who feel they are oppressed by evil spirits, a leading priest exorcist has warned. Father Pat Collins, who has worked in this ministry for many years, told the Irish Catholic Times that the need is pressing. And while Irish bishops have been responding quietly but positively, he warned the demand is much greater than the supply. He says, as Ireland has secularized, there is a crisis of truth and a crisis of meaning. People are getting into all kinds of things they wouldn't have got into before. As a result, people are more open to spiritual forces that can be negative. This week's Free Thought Hour guest is Professor Blay Whitby, who is a top-ranking ethicist. We will discuss the issues of the day, such as abortion, contraception, artificial intelligence, and things like that. It's live right here in a few minutes, and you can join in. And don't forget, Global Atheist News Review, our spin-off show, when a panel of opinionated people get a chance to express their views on the news. The GAN team will be back with our weekly news report next week. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, and set the notifications. This has been Global Atheist News. Thank you for watching.